Colossal statue of a Middle Kingdom king. In the heart of Middle Kingdom Egypt during the 12th dynasty, circa 1985 to 1773 BCE, colossal statues like the one discovered at Heracleopolis Magna were crafted to project the divine authority of pharaohs such as Senwosret III, or possibly even his predecessor, Senwosret II. These kings reigned during one of the most culturally rich and politically centralized periods in ancient Egyptian history. This particular statue, carved from hard stone and once standing as a pair, likely depicted a Middle Kingdom king accompanied by two princesses, whose figures were shown near the king's legs. While the exact identity remains uncertain, scholars propose it could be either Senwosret III, known for his stern, deeply expressive statues, or Amenemhat IV, whose reign is less understood due to a lack of records. Although we don't know whether Amenemhat IV had children, Senwosret III is known to have had 3 wives and at least 5 daughters. Interestingly, the statue was later reinscribed during the Ramesside period, possibly under Merneptah, son of Ramses II. Colossal statue of King Senwosret III. Kakor Senusret III, also written as Senwosret III or the Hellenized form, Sesostris III, was a pharaoh of Egypt. He ruled from 1878 BC to 1839 BC during a time of great power and prosperity, and was the 5th king of the 12th dynasty of the Middle Kingdom. He was a great pharaoh of the 12th dynasty and is considered to rule at the height of the Middle Kingdom. Consequently, he is regarded as one of the sources for the legend about Sesostris. His military campaigns gave rise to an era of peace and economic prosperity that reduced the power of regional rulers and led to a revival in craftwork, trade, and urban development. Senusret III was among the few Egyptian kings who were deified and honored with a cult during their own lifetime. This colossal statue, originally erected at the Great Temple of Amunias in Karnak, Thebes, captures a unique and deeply human image of the king, one that departs from the idealized forms typically seen in Egyptian royal art. Unlike earlier pharaohs who were often portrayed in youthful perfection, Senwosret III's features in this statue are strikingly realistic. His sunken eyes, hollow cheeks, prominent folds beneath the eyes, and furrowed brow convey a sense of age, wisdom, and psychological depth. The downturned mouth and pronounced facial lines reflect a man burdened with the weight of kingship, an artistic expression almost unheard of in earlier Egyptian statuary. Scholars suggest this was a deliberate political statement, a visual embodiment of the king as a tireless protector of Egypt, who bore the stress of leadership and military campaigns for his people. Seated statue of King Thutmose III. This seated statue, discovered at Karnak Temple in Thebes, modern-day Luxor, presents the king in traditional form, calm, authoritative, and immortalized in stone. He sits on a royal throne with his feet resting atop a representation of 9 bows, a powerful symbol used throughout ancient Egyptian history to represent the traditional enemies of Egypt, now subdued beneath his rule. Seated statue of King Amenhotep III. The seated statue in front of you represents King Amenhotep III, one of ancient Egypt's most powerful and prosperous rulers. Reigning during the 18th dynasty, around 1390 to 1352 BCE, Amenhotep III presided over a golden age of peace, wealth, and artistic achievement. His rule marked the height of Egypt's international influence, as the kingdom maintained diplomatic ties with other great powers of the time, such as Mitanni, Babylon, and Hutti, often exchanging luxury gifts and royal daughters. This statue, carved from red granite, likely comes from his mortuary temple at Qam el-Haytham in Thebes, modern-day Luxor, once the largest mortuary temple complex in the world. Now only the two famous colossi of Memnon are survived and excavations are still running there. Colossal statue of Queen Hatshepsut. The statue of Queen Hatshepsut, originally part of her mortuary temple, is not merely a monument to royal authority. It is a bold political statement carved in stone. The statue reflects this unique duality. Despite the traditional masculine form of pharaohs seen in the sculpture's pose and dress, there is a subtle softness in the facial features, combined with the elegant smile and refined expression that hint at her individuality. In this statue, the queen is shown seated with her hands flat on her knees, an iconographic pose used in formal representations of royalty. The figure likely once flanked the grand causeway of her mortuary temple, designed by her steward and architect Sinanmut, which still rises majestically against the cliffs of western Thebes. The temple, known as Djeser, Holy of Holies, remains one of the architectural masterpieces of ancient Egypt. Statue head of King Akhenaten. The carved head of King Akhenaten, once part of a colossal statue from the columns of the Aten Temple in Karnak, stands as a radical departure from traditional pharaonic representation. Dating to the early years of his reign, circa 1353 to 1336 BCE, 18th dynasty, this sculpture marks the beginning of one of the most dramatic and controversial shifts in ancient Egyptian religion, politics, and art. The statue head itself reveals the iconic features of the Amarna art style, developed under Akhenaten's rule. His elongated face, full lips, narrow eyes, and delicately modeled cheeks present an almost androgynous image. Standing statue of King Thutmose III. In the majestic precincts of Karnak Temple in Thebes stands a remarkable representation of one of Egypt's greatest warrior kings, Thutmose III, ruler of the 18th dynasty, circa 1479 to 1425 BC. This standing statue presents the king in traditional pose, upright, formal, and commanding, adorned with the Nemes headdress, symbolic of divine kingship, and the shindik kilt worn by pharaohs across dynasties. The king's hands rest flat against his thighs, with one leg slightly advanced in the timeless Egyptian walking pose, conveying both stillness and power. Despite the formal conventions, this statue contains nuanced features that offer deeper insight. The face, with its large almond-shaped eyes, subtle smile, and fine details, suggests a blend of strength and introspection. These characteristics bear resemblance to artistic traits associated with Queen Hatshepsut, leading scholars to consider that this statue may have originally depicted her before being appropriated by Thutmose III after her death. Statue of King Seti II holding standards. This statue, discovered in the Karnak Temple in Thebes, presents Seti II in a classic pose, holding two standards, royal emblems that signify his authority over the divine order and military tradition. Above one of the standards rests a small image of a deity, a typical symbol in processional or ceremonial sculpture that reinforces the king's connection to the gods. Statue of King Ramesses III as standard bearer. This statue captures the king in the role of standard bearer, a powerful symbol of his divine and royal authority. Ramesses III is portrayed wearing a ceremonial wig with elaborate curls and the royal uraeus cobra symbol attached to his forehead, a mark of kingship and divine protection. In his right hand, he holds a royal standard, and in his left, a second one topped with the ram-headed emblem of the god Ammonius, one of the most sacred and revered deities in Egyptian religion. These standards, often carried during religious processions and state rituals, were not mere ornaments. They represented the king's role as both sovereign and high priest. If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to receive all new updates.